What's up everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So let's have this conversation now because I think it's really early enough for us to start to put the word out there. It's pretty much the simple principle of gamers and expectations and how developers, I think, could actually help set expectations correctly. Now, this is a big, huge lesson that was learned, I hope it was learned anyways, from Gotham Knights and its release. Gotham Knights had, in my opinion, one of the weirdest marketing campaigns ever. Initially, when the game had already been announced to come out in 2021, we had basically just that DC Fandom event reveal and then almost nothing else after that. I think at this point, maybe at the end of 2020, the developers and management upstairs kind of figured this game might not be in a place to come out for that 2021 year, but it still was in a weird place because some people even asked Warner Brothers support and were, throwing questions at, the Twitter staff that were in the, mix of things, and they still kept expectations high for 2021. Only to find out that the game was going to get a 2022 release date, thereby creating this big, huge gap in marketing and exposure. Now, the good thing was that a lot of the fans paid very close attention to the game, but then by May of 2022, we got that release date. I went ahead to put all this stuff here in context because Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is about, or maybe less than a year from release, depending on when Warner Brothers is wanting that game to come out. Many of us are guessing probably around June, which is probably going to mark the release date for Batman Arkham Knight, or at least a release window that is similar to that of Batman Arkham Knight, because Suicide Squad is from Rocksteady. And if you look back at Gotham Knights, their release of October 21st almost matched the release window as well for Arkham Origins. Now, this game is going to be coming out, and there's a lot that we don't really know regarding the game. We do, however, know that the game is going to be different from all the Arkham games. For those of you who saw the way a lot of people spazzed and reacted at Gotham Knights not being like the Arkham games or measuring to the Arkham games, I think we can all safely say that there might be the need to provide a demo for a game like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is a very important component of a lot of video games that I feel that if Warner Brothers Games Montreal could have actually executed, they would have been able to finalize and seal the deal when it came to all of the expectations that people had for their game. In fact, if you look at, say, maybe even expectations for gameplay, combat, the nature of the game, I think all of these would have been set in stone, because if you kind of shake it down to all kinds of different things, it's not necessarily one of those cases of, oh, both games are actually very different from one another. Yes, they are different, but their difference is not some kind of a huge gaping chasm, like, say, Arkham Knight compared to the Injustice games, or Arkham City compared to Telltale Batman. Those games have very glaring, differences. But from the surface, a lot of people who didn't necessarily follow a lot of the details with Gotham Knights didn't really know that they were walking into an RPG game. They thought they were probably going to be dealing with an action-adventure game like the Arkham games. And so for them, this was something that was quite new, or maybe shocking to see that this was an entirely different project, different genre, or I would say subgenre. Now, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is in a whole different genre from even the Gotham Knights game and the Arkham games, being a shooter. And I think this is going to throw a lot of people for a loop. I've seen a lot of folk here in our community talk about how, it's Rocksteady, things are going to be great, things are going to be fine. Sure, maybe, but I mean, Stephen Hill and Jamie Walker are leaving the studio by the end of the year. Hopefully they're finishing everything up and finalizing the game. But the big question here is, what is the game actually going to play like? Imagine all the expectations that were set on Warner Brothers Games Montreal. Basically, the expectations were mirror expectations that anybody would have set for maybe Rocksteady. People talked about, say, Gotham Knights. When people were critiquing the game, many of their critiques were, it doesn't even look as good as the Arkham games. Well, the Arkham games, for the most part, were made by Rocksteady. So for some strange reason, a lot of gamers interpolated all those expectations on this studio that had never even made their own video game genuinely from scratch. Their own Arkham Origins game was a game that they pretty much borrowed assets from Rocksteady from. So imagine if everyone was expecting another studio to make a game like Rocksteady had, and then Rocksteady coming to the whole forefront with an entirely different game that is not necessarily similar to their Arkham games. I wonder how jarring that's going to be for a lot of people. Sure, Rocksteady has made a shooter before. Sure, they've made a multiplayer game before. But this was before they were, they gained their notoriety in the gaming world. So what I think is really going to help with this entire process to smooth things out is that somebody take some time and slash a piece of that game and go ahead and package the thing and put it out there as a demo so players can actually get some kind of a sense as to what this game is going to be bringing before they actually jump into it. This is, in my opinion, going to allow for the landing to be much more softer than it probably will once the game releases. Now, the reason I'm actually saying something about this is because by the time many players come into the new game, the Suicide Squad game, and discover that it is not something that they may have been expecting, though it's being developed in the Arkham universe, but it's a whole different game, I think they're going to levy a bunch of criticisms and try to pull from the events going on now and throw them upon the game when the game releases. I can almost already see it happening. People are going to yell and shout, oh, this is why Stephen Hill left the studio. They wanted to make a shooter. They're making another Avengers game. You're going to hear all these complaints. I can already see the comments rolling into my channel and other channels who are maybe covering this IP. And I think if they would just put a demo and pretty much come out up front and say, hey man, this is what this game is going to look like. This is what this game is going to be. And you can get a small piece of the whole puzzle. It will really change the tide in their favor. I levied this same complaint against Gotham Knights having to come out without a demo because I felt it was very necessary that the community actually got their hands on what this project was because it was very different. Sure, some people thought maybe it would push people away from playing the game or whatnot, but I think if a demo had had time to simmer into people's bones because of the difference, it would have had a much more softer landing. Even yet, the performance, if the demo had actually come out with that performance, it would have also allowed for some more time to simmer in people's bones. Not that when the game was about to come out, then we started discovering that the frame rate and the performance was not going to be what people were maybe in their minds expecting, even though they'd been seeing the footage, that the footage was not actually a 60 FPS, but still somehow people were dreaming of that. So I'm hoping that the developers at Rocksteady are paying very close attention to this. I fear for the performance of that game. I'm going to make another video that's actually going to be talking about that. And I hope that that's not going to be something that becomes a big problem overall. But anyways, I want to go ahead and stop here. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you think that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League should have a demo, or the developer should prioritize this? Or do you think it's going to be fine without a demo? I'm not that optimistic yet. Thanks for listening to the video and for watching. Appreciate you guys so much, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.